You know that feeling when you're trying to learn something and just one single negative thought can completely stop you in your tracks? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into how our inner voice can either block us or help us grow. And more importantly, how we can consciously choose which path to take.
Oh yeah, I think we've all been there. That feeling of just being stuck. It's like you've hit a brick wall, and no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get past it. It's such a common experience, and that's exactly where our story is going to start.
So let me introduce you to Anna. She's going to be our guide for this. And I have a feeling her struggles are going to feel, well, pretty familiar. As we follow her story, you might just see a little bit of your own learning journey in there.
All right, so let's jump right in. Let's join Anna in a situation that I'm sure is going to feel very, very familiar to anyone who's ever tried to learn something new.
Okay, so picture this. Anna's at her laptop, she's all fired up, she's motivated, she's curious. But then she hits a snag, a roadblock. And in that moment of difficulty, this familiar, really unhelpful thought just pops into her head.
And there it is. Why don't I understand this? And you know, that isn't really a question, is it? It's more of a cry of frustration. And it's a trigger. It immediately kicks off feelings of doubt, her motivation just tanks, and all of a sudden, that urge to just close the laptop and give up feels really, really strong.
So this brings us to a huge fork in the road, right? In these tough moments, we have a choice. We can let that thought completely block us, or we can see it as a chance to grow. And this image just illustrates that choice perfectly, doesn't it? I mean, look, on one side, you've got this rocky, barren path that leads to a dead end. That's the blocking path. But on the other, it's green, it's fertile, it's full of life. The real challenge, you see, isn't the problem on the screen. It's which one of these internal paths we choose to walk down. Okay, let's break this down, because this is so important. Look at the two cycles here. The blocking path, it starts with that thought, I can't do this, that leads straight to frustration, and what's the end result? Giving up. But now, look at the growth path. It starts with a totally different question. What can help me right now? And that question, it leads to curiosity. And from there, the action is to try something.
So here's the absolute key takeaway. We can't always control that first negative thought that pops into our heads. They just happen. But what we do have control over is what comes next. Our real power is in our reaction.
All right, so let's zoom in on that critical moment, that tiny little space in between where we can shift from just automatically reacting to actually making a conscious choice. This graphic really says it all. You've got the thought coming in on one side, that's the trigger, and you've got your action, your response on the other. But that circle in the middle, that's where the magic happens. That's our moment of choice. It's our chance to just pause, take a breath, and decide which way we're going to go.
You know, there's this fantastic quote from the source material that I just love. It's not the first thought that decides, but the next one. And it's so powerful, right? It means even if your first impulse is, I'm stuck, you can train yourself to follow it up with something more helpful. That second thought is what really steers the ship. And this connects to a really cool idea from learning science called desirable difficulties. Basically, it means that feeling of struggle, it's not a sign you're failing. It's actually often a sign that your brain is working hard, firing on all cylinders, and building strong new connections. So that difficulty, it's not just desirable, it's actually helping you learn better. Okay, so knowing all this is great, but how do we actually do it? How do we put it into practice? Well, let's get into a toolkit of 4 really helpful techniques you can use to manage that inner voice when things get tough. So here they are. We've got 1, distant self-talk. 2, cognitive reframing. 3, thought stopping. And 4, effort-oriented self-talk. These are 4 actual strategies that Anna and you can start using right away to handle those tricky learning moments.
We're going to focus on the first one, which is so simple, but man, is it effective. It's called distanced self-talk, and it's all about creating just a little bit of psychological space between you and that overwhelming feeling. So let's go back to Anna. Her first thought is this huge, all-consuming I statement, right? I can't do this. It feels so personal, so final, and it just immediately floods her with stress and drains her mental battery. But watch this simple switch. Instead of I, she uses her own name. Anna, you can take this step by step. See what happened? It's like she's coaching a friend. That tiny change just dials down the emotional intensity and frees up her brain to actually focus on the problem
instead of getting stuck on the feeling of failure. The other techniques are super useful too. So, cognitive reframing, that's all about challenging the thought. So, instead of I don't get this, you change it to I don't get this yet. Then there's thought stopping, which is exactly what it sounds like. When you're spiraling, you literally tell yourself stop, and then you immediately focus on the next tiny physical thing you can do. And finally, effort-oriented self-talk. That's about reminding yourself that this struggle is a good thing. It's the feeling of your brain getting stronger.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. By using these tools, Anna is now actively shaping her own path forward. She's turning those old roadblocks into new stepping stones.
Now, her journey isn't suddenly a walk in the park. The challenges are still there. But the big difference is she's no longer a victim of her own automatic reactions. She actually has the tools to work through the tough spots and just keep on going.
And this, right here, is the real secret. Being resilient when you're learning isn't about feeling happy and motivated 24/7. That's not realistic. It's about having the ability to keep going, to stay in the game, even when you feel frustrated or unsure of yourself. This quote from the source material just nails it. Blocking or growing is not a question of ability, but of how we internally deal with thoughts and feelings. In other words, it's not about how smart you are. It's about how you manage what's going on inside your own head.
So I want to leave you with this question to take with you. The very next time you feel stuck, what's one simple, helpful sentence you can say to yourself just to take that next small step? Because a lot of the time, that one small step is all it takes to get back on the path to growth.